It's Thursday, November 19th, and the Dow and S&P are down slightly while the Nasdaq is up slightly as of 10:30 a.m. I'm Catherine Ross and I'm joined live by Jim Cramer. Jim, jobless claims came in higher than expected with 742,000 claims filed. Economists had been expecting about 700,000. So, of course, I've got to ask, what is Action Alerts Plus watching in this market?
Well, look, we went over a bunch of things today, trying to figure out whether we should perhaps lighten up again. And we're up to trying to get back to 15% cash after this move, and we're doing that in part because the gulf is starting to get big between between when we get the vaccine and now, and what's in the gulf is more layoffs. So without stimulus, and I think that the president is not at all focused on stimulus. Without stimulus, you're going to run the risk of having to really hunker down again, except for this time, not get paid to hunker down. So, what will go up are companies that have a lot of business with China because China is just soaring right now, and companies that make it so that you can you have better e-commerce. And you see the companies that have good e-commerce, their stocks are rallying. So those are what I'm watching. And why did we can talk about what stock we trimmed this morning, but I feel that you have to be on top of your game and recognize that the gulf is getting wider between where we are and where we have to be. So you do have to lighten up a bit.
Jim, let's talk about that over on our Action Alerts Plus daily live show, which is on actionalertsplus.com for
Right.
members of the club. But right now, I want to talk to you about the US death toll because yesterday we saw the coronavirus deaths surpass 250,000. Is it time for investors to focus on their stay at home plays?
Well, I think that the problem with the stay-at-home plays is that for the most part they're played out, except for the tech ones. Because what I think that you don't have a national lockdown, so the work at home is very much in play, and I would continue to look at those. The stay at home, people are now thinking, well, wait a second, that is a little bit played out. I would say that Lowe's and Home Depot represent good buys, that they did phenomenally well, and you should own them, if only because that's the intersection between making your house into an office or a school and staying home, because you can't just have your house is not configured to be an entertainment palace, an office, and a schoolroom. So you need Home Depot and Lowe's, and I think that those are terrific. Marvin Ellison pointed that out. Actually, I'm cribbing from him on his excellent conference call. So I would go that way. I think that anything that turns your home into a school, or turn your home into a an office, those work. And anything that turns your home into an entertainment palace, well, Best Buy. Best Buy is up today. I think that makes sense. So I am anxious to buy those, but I also like the drug stocks because I think that employment number that you brought up makes you like the drug stocks, but you have to buy drug stocks that have earnings and yield.
Jim, before I ask about AstraZeneca, I just wanted to take a moment and pause because we haven't checked in on your mask contest in a while. How is that going? Give us an update.
Well, can you mention it? We're down to the last ones, and for people to know, this is a thing that Mark Benioff came to me one day and said, "Listen, no one's wearing masks in this country. What do we do?" And of course, some were. And so I said, "Give me some time." And I came up with the idea of how about a contest? Let's get the 15 to 24-year-olds involved, and maybe their parents will then take it seriously. It went viral and global very quickly. And now we had a huge number. We got it down to 25. Now we got that down to 10. And we're going to make the intellectual property. We pay $500,000 to the winner, $250,000 to two other people. The intellectual property we're going to make available. So if you're, I don't know, Under Armour and you want to come out with another mask, you can do it, or Walgreens. The masks are certified by 3M and Honeywell, who are the two largest mask makers in our country. And what I'm really just trying to do, you take a survey, like a study came out of Denmark yesterday, and people say, well, wait a second, this confirms what the president's saying. They don't really work. And then you read the study, and it's half people wore masks and half people didn't. Well, the whole point is if everybody wears a mask, which is what my goal is, then when someone sneezes, because it's the cold and flu season, then there's less of a chance that you will get COVID. And I had someone sit next to me for 4 hours who had COVID. didn't know he had COVID, but he had COVID during the period where you get the most likely contagion. But I was wearing an N95 mask and another mask on top of that. I did not get it, and I credit all that to masks. That is just a personal anecdote, but we ended up really blowing this thing out, and I'm very excited by it. It ended up taking a huge amount of my time. Did I want that? Candidly, when I try to look at the hours that I'm working right now, they're far too great. But this is really important, Catherine. We have got to get a mask that answers all the objections. It was through Twitter of what people don't like: fog glasses, can't see, smile, itches, hurts, gets dirty. These masks answer these objections. So I'm very proud in the end, even though it's taken 3 months of just heartache to get this thing where it is, that maybe that will be my contribution to this thing, which is that I got more people to wear masks, which is what we need, Catherine, until everybody's vaccinated. And I don't know when that's going to be. I tried to sign up today. I'm back trying to sign up for Pfizer and J&J. They won't let me in. I'm going back and trying it again.
And you're right, we don't know when that's going to be. But speaking of vaccinations, we did get data out of Oxford AstraZeneca about their vaccine candidate that showed a robust immune response in older adults. But phase 2 doesn't assess efficacy. That's actually saved for phase 3, which is why we have gotten the Moderna and the Pfizer news about efficacy. So, yeah, look, Jim, what do investors do with the news?
I think this RNA really works. It's revolutionary. It's different. Now, one of the things that we got to really get straight here is that not enough people have been tested. They haven't. I mean, and I think I totally understand why people would say, "Listen, I'm not taking it." I want to be in the real test because I want to see if it works, and because I do not want this disease. Now, who knows? Maybe you get the placebo, but I do not want this disease. And I read a lot of people on Twitter who say it's just wasn't worse than a cough, wasn't worse than a cold. Well, I have one person who was in the ICU for 3 weeks and almost died, had to speak to his doctor. And I had a daughter who was sick for 3 weeks and missed her work, and is now finally strong enough to be able to go back. She got it, and she's 29, and I thought she was supposed to snap right out of it as soon as he heard that she couldn't smell and couldn't taste, because that's what people keep telling me happens. Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe some people are lucky enough, okay? But I keep thinking about the person who I've known for 32 years that I was sitting next to is in the ICU, and I read about all the people who died, and I know people have died, and I just keep saying, I don't know who these people are who are so complacent about this thing. And then they say, well, it's just like the flu. I mean, come on. I don't care. Yes, the death rate is okay. But if you have millions and millions of people who have it, the death rate's not okay. Because the only reason why the death rate came down is because you were treated in the hospital. But look at the way these people the healthcare providers, I mean, they're like, they're just exhausted. And the president is busy tweeting about how the election is on, and no one's focused on the healthcare system. It's unbelievable. I mean, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe anyone isn't more outraged like I am.
Well, and this is a good time to point out that if you're watching this and you haven't gotten a flu shot, perhaps that should be your next outing. So, Jim,
people haven't gotten it. We just quit watching and go get a flu shot. You're out of your mind. Now, flu shots are only 50 to 60% work because the strains keep changing. That's why when you see 95%, that's like extraordinary. That's like what happened with smallpox, with polio. So it's everybody's duty to try to get in a trial too. And it's unfortunate that half the country listened to a president who was still the president, who I think belittled almost every single effort. And yet he got the Regeneron. He got the Regeneron. And you, watchers, ain't getting the Regeneron. You just ain't.
Jim, let's back up because I want to talk to you about Mad Money. Last night, you noted that the driving force behind investing in individual stocks is zero commission trading. And you added that it's hard to go wrong with so many stocks going higher. But let's say one bad day in the market, what happens?
These people have been unbelievable. They don't listen to the Armageddonists, the big time hedge fund managers who are really rich. They look at companies like GE and Ford, and they say, "Listen, these are iconic companies, and they're going to come back. They're not going to go under, and we're going to buy them." These people aren't. These people are not sunshine soldiers. They're not. They're not summer patriots. They're real, and they like weakness, and they buy weakness if they understand it. Maybe they like GoodRx because they've used GoodRx. Maybe they like Teladoc because they've used the behavioral part of Teladoc. These people are for real. Maybe they like Grand Theft and they use the weakness to buy Take Two. I find that in the canvases that I've made, these people are so much smarter than those who say you're too stupid and be in an index fund. And they are trying to get rich, and I think they can. I always tell them to put some money in an index fund in order to be able to make it so my hands are clean. But I genuinely understand that many of them have done a massive amount of homework on Beyond Meat when it's at 50 and then sell it at 150. They're doing a huge amount of work on the companies that they know, which is what we're supposed to do. And they own Amazon. They own a sliver of Amazon. That was smart because you can own a sliver of Amazon. They're in there doing the right thing. And I am blown away by how good they are.
Jim, there's one stock that people on Twitter, I'm looking at my Twitter feed right now, there's one stock that these people want to hear your take on. But, and I want to add this, let's take it back. Let's do a bird's eye view because over on Action Alerts Plus, we're going to get down and dirty with the details. So, Nvidia, what stood out to you in this earnings report?
All right. First of all, Action Alerts did an unbelievable best in show write-up of Nvidia. If you read it, you knew when it was down 30, you should be a buyer. If you read it, with it down 8, you should be buying. Now, typically when you have this kind of run, anybody who bought it down 30 or 25, they see it's down 7 and they blow out. So you're going to deal with some resistance here. You're going to deal with the flippers who were strong enough to go in when it was bottoming. But the things that Nvidia are doing, they own all the highest and high compute. What we're seeing is really, they did not denigrate typical semiconductors because now they're buying ARM, but they're trying to buy ARM. 18 months is what they said. But they own data, they own gaming, they own auto when auto gets good. They own inference. The stuff that they're doing is extraordinary. I mean, when you look at a video game, take a look at it, go slowly. You'll see shading. You'll see actual shading, shadows, with the way people really look, like Cezanne. And that's all Jensen. Jensen Huang is the developer of this. Now, he's got 20,000 engineers, and he always credits his team because he's a good guy. But there is an overwhelming sense that if you're Amazon, if you're Google, or if you're Microsoft, you have to use his chips, the GPUs. You have to. They're faster, they're better, they're stronger. They can take a lot more data, and that's why this was. You can read our report, but it was a tour de force conference call. Now, there was one weakness. What was the weakness? It was data center. Okay, so now you look deep into the data center weakness. What was it? They couldn't make all the chips that were needed. They actually had so much demand that they were not able to meet. They just, they'll get it. They said that they'll meet it later through the year. But you need to clean up the sellers. Nvidia is a legendary stock for cleaning up the sellers before it advances. Now, that's why I say when it goes back down, I don't think it'll go down as low as it did earlier in the morning when it hit 524. It's at 528, but last night it was down 30. It was at 505, 510. Those levels won't be, I don't think, breached. But I do think that you can see this bounce back to the low, clean out the, as these flippers flip, and that might be your chance to start buying some. After you read your report, I need you to know what you're owning. Because someone was coming into me the other day and say, hey, listen, I bought Nvidia at 589. What do I do? Well, it's the actual top. And the answer is, I don't care where a stock's been. I care where it's going to. I think it's going higher.
Got to do your homework, as you always say. Jim,
yes,
you did your homework. You sat down with GoodRX CEO this morning. And are you worried about the Death Star of Amazon coming for them? Would you buy the stock right now? I'm looking at.
Periodically, the Death Stars fail. Periodically, Death Stars. I use good. Oh man, Oh, the hell, that's my boss. I use GoodRx, and what's amazing about GoodRx, and this is really important, is that this idea that it's 40% off, which is the Amazon thing, that is just meaningless. I don't know where, if you're GoodRx, I'm going to give you the story about why I like GoodRx. So I have a problem in my body. We don't need to say more than that. Where I need a thing called diazepam. Now, diazepam is a very basic drug. Okay, it's been around for years and it's generic. I need it to be in injectable form, meaning it has to be in a plastic injectable form. I'd say the cost to the manufacturer, I don't know, 3 cents, maybe 5 cents. Whatever the plastic cost is more expensive than the actual drug. I was spending approximately $50,000 a year on this drug, and it was not covered by insurance. I went to GoodRx. I paid 1/10 of what I paid. They find where you can get that drug cheaply, and it's sent right to my CVS. Now, if you tell me that I saved $45,000, which is just, I mean, for America is a giant amount of money. You tell me I saved $45,000, I'm going to go on Amazon and hope. Now, how'd they do it? I went to them before they were public. I said, look, I don't get this. I mean, am I going to get in trouble? Are you like a scam artist? How do you do it? Well, they have the algorithm that showed where the diazepam was the cheapest. Now, why was it $50,000? And this is very important. The companies that made it made so little money that they all dropped out, except for one. And when there was only one, that was it. They took the price up so large that no insurance company would cover it. But it turns out that it was the price that did not increase everywhere at the same time. And I'm now saved, let's say, about $135,000. And doing something that I don't think Amazon could do. So you can go sample Amazon all you want. GoodRx is a miracle. And I don't think that the convenience of having 2-day mail possibly trumps saving $45,000 a year.
And now that you've got that extra cash, Jim, you say in your real money column, which is focusing on retail, it's focusing on consumer spending. You say that, and I quote, it's not that the consumer is spending like an undisciplined hooligan, but the fact that the consumer is hyper aware of what they need in order to stay at home, and it's driving retail higher. So what happens to retail stocks when we go back to normal eventually?
Well, I think that we're always going to be more frugal. I think we're going to be understanding that we were spending too much. We love being, I think we're now suddenly flirting with the idea of how great it would be to be, how great it would be to be what I would call debt-free. We like it. And I think that's what it's all about.
Speaking of retail, we got earnings out of Macy's, and they posted a narrower than expected loss. Can Macy's recover in your eyes, or is this stock just still dead in the water?
Because the EBITDA is very good. I feel that it wasn't a great quarter, but it was good enough, so it's okay.
And let's continue on this retail train because L Brands also posted earnings and saw record sales growth in Bath & Body Works. Is this a stock to watch?
I like it very much. It's now up too much. I recommended it 18 points ago. I can't say now is the time to buy.
All right, and Jim and I are heading over to our Action Alerts Plus daily rundown show over on actionalertsplus.com. For more of his insight, come join us over there. I'm Catherine Ross, and we'll see you tomorrow.